Hey, welcome back to the Pleb Underground. I am your host, Phil, the signal without the slop. Guys, let's dive into it. We've got a lot of stories to cover today. You know, a couple of days ago, I was showing a chart about how paper Bitcoin, right? Paper Bitcoin summer was easing. Guess what? Paper Bitcoin's back. We're going to take a look at some updates and see what's going on with paper Bitcoin as well. Russia's mad. Right, that stable coin, that announcement. We're going to go through with that, huh? Yeah, Russia's mad at America. Wonder why. Shout out to Count Bitcoin. He tagged me in this post for the People's Reserve. That this was a guy who was, you know, it was one of the typical they love Bitcoin, and then eventually once you corral enough people, it becomes, hey, I've got this shitcoin thing that I'm doing, but you know I love Bitcoin and I'm building around Bitcoin, so buy my shitcoin thing. Well, there's an update from the quote-unquote People's Reserve, and we're going to go take a look at that email that they sent. The NASDAQ is going to be making a move into the cryptocurrency space. I think it's pretty much unsurprising, but it might be a bit of a surprise to see who it is that they're backing as well. Bill HR 5166 introduced to Congress. Has to do with the SBR. I know a lot of people are cheering for that. We'll take a look at it. They're defining a framework, right? So we'll take a look at that. And as well, Namecheap did a sale of a domain, right? A $2 million sale of a domain with Bitcoin, right? Interesting story. Anyways, we're going to take a look at that one as well. Guys, it's going to be a fun show. You know the deal. We're going to show some love to the Pleb Underground sponsors, and we will be right back to dive right into all the fun. Here we go. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. All right, we'll start off with this really cool video of a Bitcoin rocket in Asia. I believe that was during the Bitcoin conference in Asia. Very cool. Very cool stuff. Anyways, all right. That was fun. Nice little LED show. Let's dive into the news. So let's start it off. Kyrgyzstan prepares to create a crypto reserve. So the deputies in the budget committee approved the draft crypto bill into 3 consecutive readings at once. The draft law also seeks to implement important proposals such as to organize the mining of cryptocurrencies by state-owned enterprises and to establish a state cryptocurrency reserve. Now, of course, for those of us that immediately think of mining, think of infrastructure, we can only think of Bitcoin. I can't actually think that they're going to be doing anything else besides Bitcoin. However, the language is a little vague. Anyways, these steps will allow Kyrgyzstan to accumulate digital assets through mining, tokenization of other assets, and the issuance of stable coins backed by the national fiat currency. I don't see what else they're going to mine besides Bitcoin. Anyways, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Anyways, Kyrgyzstan, yep, another country following in the footsteps. And look, this doesn't surprise me. I think that we're gonna once again, right? We're gonna see very few. I shouldn't say few, but I guess we're gonna see some big players accumulate Bitcoin, and we are gonna see a lot of smaller players who. And this goes back to kind of a shitcoin thing that I ended up learning. Smaller number go more moon. And that's the angry Chihuahua that taught me that one. And it makes total sense, right? Like, why would they sit there and try to accumulate the most expensive, quote unquote, most expensive asset when they could accumulate some shit coins and hope that they're going to be able to sell them at a significant profit? Hopefully, in their eyes, maybe at more maybe the shitcoin that they mine grows more than Bitcoin in that particular year or in that particular 6-month period or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. But this is just, it's shenanigans, right? Not everybody can have Bitcoin. More and more people want Bitcoin. So what are you going to do? Right? You're going to try to accumulate something that may have Bitcoin-like properties, and you're going to sell it for Bitcoin. So yeah, I think Roman hit the nail on the head here. Sounds like they're going through the poop coin stage. That is exactly right. I can't disagree with you. They're going to try, right? They're going to try stuff. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Let's continue on the Kyrgyzstan news. Yeah, the NASDAQ news, right? NASDAQ to invest 50. So look, $50 million. I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, but when it comes to these multi-billion-dollar corporations, especially these public companies, $50 million is like a drop in the bucket. This is pretty much the same amount that Peter Thiel put into Signature Bank before he sank them like a frickin' stone. Okay, so just kind of take that into perspective, right? When you're dealing with businesses that are worth billions of dollars, right? It sounds like, oh wow, they care. Look at that, they're making a huge move. $50 million. The other piece of it is that I think I actually did a show about this about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, showing Gemini's numbers, because now Gemini, because they're going public, they have to show their numbers, and they are swimming in losses and debt. So I don't know. Is that a sign of confidence on the side of the NASDAQ, or are they just putting themselves in place to help pull the plug when things don't go so well? Who knows? We're going to see what happens. Either way, good for Gemini, right? They got the $50 million. It's good stuff. All right. Well, let's move on to the Russia stuff. This was pretty funny. So essentially, Putin's advisor, okay, this is what he had to say. The U.S. is now trying to rewrite the rules of the gold and cryptocurrency markets. Remember the size of their debt. $35 trillion. These two sectors, crypto and gold, are essentially alternatives to the traditional global currency system. So make no mistake, right? Gold and obviously Bitcoin is a hedge against all governments who print money. And the other piece to it is this. Russia, I mean, I'm going to just assume this, like pretending that they're not in the crypto space, like Russia pretending that they have not used crypto in order to facilitate their own transactions. It's like, come on, man. This is gaslighting. This is bullshit. And again, I'm not saying that the $35 trillion debt is bullshit. No, not at all. That is absolutely legitimate, right? We have that debt. There's no question. The point is that I just think that Putin's advisor is a little bit salty. I think that they're all salty that they didn't figure out the stable coin play sooner, right? They didn't figure out, because look, at the end of the day, the whole entire world is a risk board anyways, right? I'm a Gen Xer, so board games. And back in the day, you play Risk, right? The game of world domination. And unfortunately, Russia they didn't play this. They didn't play this very well, right, as of right now. And the States is playing this a lot better. So, hey, guess what? Russia, cry harder. It's too bad. Cry harder, Russia. All right. Let's see here. Next up, let's go. All right, let's dive into the paper Bitcoin summer. How about that? Let's do some paper Bitcoin summer. Here we go. So, saw this one yesterday from the Bitcoin treasuries, right? Or a couple of days ago. Hashkey Group has just announced plans to launch Asia's largest, and keep in mind, Bitcoin treasury, starting with an initial investment of $500 million. This is a little bit inaccurate. Just saying it's a little bit inaccurate. That's all. Hash Group will launch its inaugural digital asset treasury. Spoiler, they are not buying Bitcoin. Anyways. All right, I'll stop. Focus fund with an initial target size of $500 million. The multi-currency, I thought it was Bitcoin. Wasn't it just pretty sure it's Bitcoin treasury. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyways, the multi-currency funds, that strategy refers to public companies accumulating cryptocurrency assets to capitalize on their high. Oh, so they're buying companies that buy Bitcoin or crypto. That's what they're doing. Okay. I mean, look, fair play, but this, nope, not real. Sorry. Anyways, so they are going to be investing in and operating top-tier DAT projects globally. Hashkey aims to advance the crypto asset standardization and accelerate the development of sustainable. Oh, that is so beautiful. That is such Bitcoin stuff right there. Web3 ecosystem. Oh man, that inspires me with such good feelings of the future. Lots of technology. Hashkey will build a diversified portfolio of not Bitcoin by initiating and investing in a range of companies that essentially buy Bitcoin and other tokens, with an initial emphasis on Ethereum and Bitcoin ecosystem projects. I don't know. None of that sounded like a Bitcoin treasury. I'm not gonna lie. None of that sounded like a Bitcoin treasury. But it doesn't matter because it just feels so good, doesn't it? Just put it out there. You click on it, you retweet it, makes you feel good. Yeah, it's all going to the moon. I'm so smart. So smart. Anyways, okay, let's continue. We got more news. That's right. More news. Let's do it. The CBOE plans to launch continuous futures for Bitcoin and Ether beginning November 10th. Now, before everybody gets super excited and all this stuff, you know that I'm going to ruin it with actual information, and not just hopium that makes us feel good about holding Bitcoin. So here we go. The new product suite will debut with Bitcoin and Ether continuous futures, offering U.S. traders a simpler and efficient way to gain long-term exposure to digital assets. Wonderful. Execute trading strategies, manage risk, whatever. They just get to make more fees. That doesn't matter. Anyways. And of course, all within the U.S. regulated, centrally cleared, intermediated framework. That's right. Stay in our garden. We are the gatekeepers. You stay in the garden. That's how we keep making money. Anyways, these contracts will be cash settled and aligned to real-time spot market prices. So there's no Bitcoin. And not that anybody thought there was any kind of Bitcoin settlement or anything like that, but it's just typical. Look, it's just typical paper Bitcoin. It is just typical derivative products. Yes, I get it. It's good because it means more exposure, more people paying attention, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, that's whatever. This is just them doing their typical shenanigan things that they do. But I'm glad that we know about it. Anyways, moving on, we've got another company. Let's see, South Africa's AltVest. Ah, yes. So South Africa, and this is actually a pretty decent one, guys. South Africa's AltVest Capital plans to raise $200 million to buy Bitcoin. I did not get a chance to really take a look at their financials. However, these guys are jumping in with both feet. Okay, we need to congratulate them. The company will also change its name to African Bitcoin Corp. The financial services firm is the first listed company in Africa to adopt Bitcoin as its primary treasury reserve asset. And you know what, guys? Golf clap. Why not, right? It's got to be a little happy for these guys, right? I can't just be a jerk all the time. Just be a jerk some of the time. Yeah, it's fun stuff. All right. Moving on, guys. A lot of news, man. I don't know what happened overnight, but there's just so much stuff. Okay, so Cantor Fitzgerald. It's an interesting one. I'm not sure what I think about this one yet. Cantor Fitzgerald has launched the Cantor Fitzgerald Gold Protected Bitcoin Fund. Bitcoin needs gold protection? Oh, that's right. If you want to financialize this crap, right, you got to give people downside risk because so for whatever reason, investment implies risk. But however, investors can no longer incur any risk anymore. We can't do it. We can't handle it. I remember when I first started buying shares of companies. I had never really experienced that when a company, like when the stock goes down, investors or active, I guess you'd say active investors would go and sue the company because the price dropped. I thought that this was implied in buying shares, right? You read the information, you make a decision based on your conviction, and then you buy the shares. And I mean, if the price drops, then okay, either you hold and do more research, or you sell and just cut the pain. I never realized you can go and you start suing people because the price dropped a little too much. Anyways, look, good for Cantor Fitzgerald to come up with a product like this, because I believe that unfortunately the TradFi market is definitely, they're going to like this. I really think that they're going to like this. So $16.8 billion investment product designed to provide exposure to Bitcoin while offering downside protection through gold. Structure allows investors to benefit from 45% of Bitcoin's uncapped appreciation. That to me right there tells me that they are ultra bullish on Bitcoin, so bullish on Bitcoin that they can't actually afford to pay you more than 45% of the uncapped appreciation. It's actually pretty decent. Over a 5-year period, while protecting up to 100% of the original investment in the event of a Bitcoin decline. And guys, before you think that you or me are going to be able to buy shares of this, yeah, you can't. Well, I mean, some people can. If you are an accredited investor, right, which means that you have what is it? You're worth over $1 million, or you earn earn over 200K a year. Then you can qualify to be an accredited investor, and you can purchase shares of this fund. So, very interesting stuff going on there. I mean, look, good for them. I'm very curious to see how it actually plays out. I think it could be, because I will say this. I know that I shouldn't say a lot of older Bitcoiners, but some older Bitcoiners that I have spoken to, yeah, this is true Z logic. Money makes money. But yeah, a lot of older Bitcoiners that I've spoken to don't really, at this point, it's like they've been through so many cycles that it's almost like they dread the next quote unquote bear market, So this is one of these situations where, they're dangling, right? Cantor Fitzgerald's dangling the carrot on the end of the stick. Hey, come give us your money. Look, we're going to give you this downside protection, and you're going to get the upside. Exactly. ABW. It's just buzzwords, right? Just makes you feel good. It's like, this is great. I'm being protected. It's so good that I'm being protected. Anyways, look, I know that product is going to fit a market niche. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, to me, I'd rather just hold Bitcoin, and especially if you are fortunate to have a steady job and you're able to keep your expenses within reason. And you can stack that. There is no reason to waste your time with any of these other shenanigans at all. I know everybody's positions are different, right? Everybody's life is different. But to me, it's like if I've got a steady job, I'm making a paycheck. I'm pouring the majority of that paycheck, minus, of course, my expenses and some living. You got to have some fun. That's all going into Bitcoin, right? And that's exactly what I did. Anyways, it's not over, guys. We got more. That's right. You thought the news was done. But it's not. The next thing we are going to take a look at, let's take a quick look here. The new bill, right before we talk about the name cheap stuff. So, new bill HR 5166 introduced Congress, directing the U.S. Treasury to study the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile. You like that, huh? They just kind of snuck that in there. It's been a strategic Bitcoin reserve this whole entire time. Now it's a digital asset stockpile. That's you don't see the goalposts moving, but they're moving. Report must cover impact on the government's balance sheets. It doesn't make a difference. The government's like the most unprofitable business in humanity, right? Like, think about it. Would you actually buy shares of the government? I mean, I get it. When people buy treasuries, that's, I guess, in some way doing that. But you, as like me, right, as an individual, would I, if the U.S. government was the U.S. government corporation, would I buy shares of it? Of course not, because all they do is produce debt. That's it. Like, make any profit. Anyways, but it's funny. This is good. This is good LARPing, right? Good cosplay. Custody security plans, use of seized BTC. That right there. That's the whole play. That's the whole thing. Use of seized BTC, cybersecurity, and transfer protocols. So I got to tell you guys, I know that a lot of people are cheering for this to be like, oh yeah, it's coming. Look, they're taking the steps and this and that. This is just can kicking down the road. When we actually get a proper framework and the conversation changes to something more concrete, and again, I'm not a cheerleader for the SBR. I'm just saying, if you actually want to figure out if something is going to happen, right? We need to have more concrete steps. This is just fluff and bullshit. Sorry. Okay. That's all it is. Appreciate the gesture, right? But giant nothing burger, unfortunately. Okay. The name cheap stuff. So let's go take a look at the name cheap news, right? So this was reported yesterday that the Namecheap CEO says the company's largest ever domain sale, a oneword.com, closed for $2 million in Bitcoin on Seller Hub with payment processed through BTC Pay server. Now, obviously, got to give a big shout out to BTC Pay server, right? That is awesome for them. Now, excuse me, the piece that I didn't get right. So essentially what I do, every single story that I look at, I go and I look up all the sources for them. Because I want to, obviously I want to educate myself, and I want to make sure that, you know, if I'm talking about something, I'm doing my best to be as accurate in my simpleton way as I can. And this story had absolutely, like, all there was 3 tweets, right? It was Bitcoin News, it was Tales from the Crypt, and like one other source. There was nothing. And I'm like, did they actually do this? Now, in doing some research, it turns out that Namecheap did have a sale for a domain, supposedly, and none of it was ever verified, to MicroStrategy for thevoice.com for $30 million. But that obviously wasn't settled in Bitcoin. Okay. So yes, through doing a whole lot of extensive research, i.e. going and finding the CEO's Twitter, there you go. This is the CEO of Namecheap, right? Domain transferred and wire payment sent to seller all within a couple of hours, start to finish, right? And he is exactly talking about this, $2 million in Bitcoin from their seller hub. So this is good stuff. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is, why is it I'm fascinated by the fact that these type of news accounts, these engagement accounts, why don't they just post you a link in the next post? Like, why? What is there some type of a problem with posting a source? Like what happened? Does that I genuinely want to understand? Does it like melt the validity of the original post? Is that what's happening? It's like all of this. Oh, you provided a source. Well, that's not fun. I don't get it, guys. Post sources, okay? We always talk about, as Bitcoiners, you know, the don't trust, verify, and all this stuff, and you're all about truth and freedom, and it's like, ooh, you know, piece of news that makes me happy with no source. Like, no, get some sources, all right? We should do better, and really, the only way that we can do better is by actually doing better, right? We should be leading by example. Anyways, guys, that's it. There, you got some morale at the end. That's going to do it for us. Now, I'm going to give you guys a heads up on Friday. All right. On Friday, I'm having Portland come and join me. That's right. Evil Portland. It's going to be crazy. Now, of course, I am not having him on the show to shill, you know, core against knots and all this stuff. No, we're going to have a conversation. I've expressed many times, I do not agree. I don't agree with I don't agree with core. I don't agree with lifting the op return. Okay. But at the same time, I also don't believe that necessarily running knots is the answer. I've said this before, and people get mad and, oh, you're on the fence and this and that. But no, I'm really not on the fence. I just don't think the knots is the answer. But anyways, it's going to be an interesting conversation. I am going to push. I am definitely going to push on him. And keep in mind, guys, all right, Portland is not a core developer. Okay, so he is a developer. Okay, and he contracts for Marathon, and he did create Slipstream, but he is not a core developer. It's just he and I are having that conversation, and I'm looking to bust his chops a little bit, and I'm sure he's going to bust mine too, because he knows way more than I do. Anyways, guys, that's it for us for today. I will catch you all tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. Portland's coming on Friday. All right, take it easy. Peace.